And what did we do when there was no surf? We just put wheels on our surfboards, didn't we? And we made skateboards, or got a piece of timber and put some wheels on it and made a skateboard. And that's how skateboarding was born, because we wanted to be able to surf all the time. And if there was no waves, we created a thing called a skateboard. Back in the late 50s, early 60s, surfers built the first skateboard. And we found this bit of timber and put wheels on it, and we found we could do all the manoeuvres that we were doing on surfboards, like hanging ten and turns and cutbacks and all these things. We could do all that on a skateboard. And so that's how skateboarding was born, by necessity. We wanted to be able to do surfing during the day when there was no surf, so we invented skateboards. And there's no question, skateboarding would be by far, easily the biggest outdoor leisure activity in the world today, by far. There's skate parks everywhere. Every country's got skate parks in it now. It's a massive industry, and it started by a few surfers back there in the late 1950s, early 1960s. We built our own little backyard skate parks back there in the early 1960s, and now look at them, they're everywhere. Skate parks are worldwide. We had no clothing to wear. We used to go surfing in my school shorts back there in the late 1950s. And of course, they come out of the water and they wouldn't dry for hours and hours. So what did surfers do? Because of necessity, we invented board shorts that everybody wears today down to the beach. Everybody, you've probably even got a pair of board shorts. Invented by surfers, by necessity. We wanted board shorts that would dry out in 2 minutes. So we could leave them on, go back for another surf straight away. And so we're involved in clothing, made our own board shorts. It's just a massive worldwide industry. But also we created our own labels as well. You know, our own type of t-shirts. We wanted our own identity. So we created our own label. And that's why I'm sure you've even worn one of the surfing labels that was invented back there in the 1960s by surfers. You know, Quicksilver or Billabong or Mambo or Hurley or Patagonia or something. All surf labels that started in the surfing community. And I'm sure you've even worn one. Started back there in the 1960s. You just about go to every country in the world, middle of Africa, you'll find surf labels. All started with the surfing community in the early 1960s. What about snowboarding? Snowboarding started with surfers back in the 1960s. It's no question to be one of the biggest leisure industries, or in fact even competitive industries in the world today. Snowboarding started back with surfers who were out there surfing, saw the snow up on the mountain and said, oh gee, we can ride hard water too, you know, why don't we make something so we can ride hard water? And that's how snowboarding started, with surfers sitting in the water, saw the ice and the snow and said, let's do it on the snow as well. That's how snowboarding started. Huge industry in the world today, worldwide, everywhere. We, by necessity, when you couldn't stand up on a surfboard, well, we created a boogie board. At least you could go out in the water and still catch a wave. That's how boogie boards were started. Look at the boogie board industry. It's a massive industry in the world today. Kite surfing, kneeboarding, sailboarding, softboards, skimboards, longboards. I mean, it can go on and on and on. All started back there in the 1960s. Don't tell me it's not a massive revolution. It's gone worldwide, global, everywhere. People are involved in some way, involved in and connected to the surfing community. It's amazing. You see, what happened was that the surfing lifestyle exploded concurrently or in parallel with the explosion of globalization. They both happened at exactly the same time. Quite amazing. the surfing industry was very fortunate that as the surfing revolution took off in the 1960s, so did globalization take off in the 1960s. They were together, they worked together. Very fortunate time in history for the surfing industry, because globalization suddenly made surfing global more or less over a decade. It was incredible. And I mean, hundreds of thousands of surfboards get built every year, don't they? So there's all this massive industry that's going on these days, that everybody involved in the industry in some way or other, you know, building surf craft of some sort, or involved in the clothing industry, or wetsuits, or, you know, thousands, hundreds of millions of people involved in all these different industries. Transport and making movies and surf magazines and all this sort of stuff. What about the thousands of surf shops that there are all around the world? Or shops selling the surf labels? All over the place. Stand-up paddleboards, invented by surfers in the 1960s. Stand-up paddleboard, in fact earlier than that, it came from Hawaii. Stand-up paddleboards. But the resurgence has taken place. They even use stand-up paddleboards on rivers and lakes and things like that now. Surfing's not just confined to the coastline anymore, it's gone inland. People use stand-up paddleboards all over the place. What about music? Have you ever heard of soccer music or rugby music or whatever? But you certainly heard of surf music. We created our own surf music lifestyle, own style of music. The surf music. You've heard of that, right? Everybody's heard of surf music. You ever heard of rugby music? Don't think. You see, the revolutions of the 1960s majorly affected us in so many different ways. They had influence on our lifestyle, which I've just explained to you, and concern for others and the environment and that type of thing. They affected our personal philosophies on life and kind of regulated our travel habits. We were also affected by others' philosophies, dictatorships, anti-white ill feeling, if you like, Vietnam.
I have today ordered to Vietnam the Air Mobile Division and certain other forces which will raise our fighting strength almost immediately. Additional forces will be needed later, and they will be sent as requested.
I mean, Vietnam gave us a real quandary, to be quite honest, because you either took one or two camps. You became a conscientious objector, which was the hippie philosophy, you know, make love not war, be a conscientious objector, or you're a supporter of the war to stop the spread of communism. Now, they are both relative points, and you know, you either choose one or the other, either make love or make love and not war, or you defended the cause of stopping the expansion of communism. So, I mean, both were right causes, but it gave us a quandary. What one do we choose? You know, as a hippie, I chose to be a conscientious objector because I didn't think that war was necessary, because that's the way I thought when I was a young man. Others went and joined the army and went to Vietnam and fought in Vietnam. Well, that's their prerogative. That's what they wanted to do, and I am fully persuaded that both sides had equal share of fairness about them.
While in the sky above, GIs training to carry on a tradition of defending freedom in peace and war. Some don't worry at all, and they're free to do that too. But only because others shape up, step forward, and serve our country.
But we lived in this world where there was mixed feeling about everything, because you didn't know which camp you were in. And so when we travelled, as I mentioned, in the title, during the time of revolution, we were constantly reminded about these different revolutions. They were swaying us this way and that way. The surfing revolution made us consider our lifestyle and fun and our capacity for adventure. So that was the surfing lifestyle, was kind of moving us that way. The communist revolution made us choose sides, like I just spoke about. Do I support the Vietnam War or don't I support the Vietnam War? There was all this conflict, internal conflict going on within us. The hippie revolution softened us towards people, and the anti-colonialism revolution made us wary of people. So it was a real time of conflict, man, internal conflict. And so we found ourselves in a special time in history where major doors started opening up for us, for people like us who wanted to travel. And we were spurred on to have an adventurous experience and to live life on the edge, to have fun, but at the same time put yourself in precarious situations. And so this story that follows is about being right smack bang in the middle of those influential revolutions that I just talked about. And it was during a time of incredible opportunity as well. So in the 1950s it was all plain sailing. We conformed, took on a stereotype role, and decision making was easy, that type of thing. But in 1970 it was as complex as hell.
The area of San Francisco, which has evolved and developed over the past number of years. In fact, I would say that the last 18 months has seen a tremendous increase of the so-called hippies who have invaded and lived in this area. This is a protest against the middle and upper class people of San Francisco, in fact of the area. It is the belief of the people who live within the area that we, the middle class or the upper class, have done a very, very poor job in running our government and our way of life.
Actually, this is quite hilarious. The middle class American could get a tour of the hippie part of San Francisco in the late 1960s. Of course, the attitude of those 1950 middle class American people was very condescending, of course, but that's okay.
Here we are. Going to be educated now. And this is the heart of it now as we turn here onto the street, which is Haight Street. This is the heart of the area. Print and then the psychedelic bookshop.
The psychedelic shop on Haight Street is the shrine of the hippie movement. Started just over a year ago, it spreads the gospel of a dreamy new utopia based on brotherhood and love.
And you can see here what a very different generation our parents were. The hippie revolution merely became an amusement to them. We were getting emotionally shoved around by every bit of propaganda going, and this was the mindset and worldwide complexity that we found ourselves in 1970 as we began to enter into our epic journey. This incredible internal conflict that was totally absent in 1950s.